Our guest today has written one of the most insightful and important new books related to this controversy, and one which compels us to reconsider some of those fundamental assumptions about what is happening in America.
So, Adam, this book is one of the most interesting and intriguing books about the legal system that I've ever read, and I really thank you for thinking about these issues and even more so for writing about them.
I selected 3 books, works of nonfiction, that belong in everybody's best of the year list, but that didn't get the attention they deserve. And I want to begin with this book right here. It's called
You're going for Not Enough Attention.
Not Enough Attention, Things That Flew Under the Radar.
Adam Benforado is a Harvard Law graduate, a law professor at Drexel University, and the author of Unfair, The New Science of Criminal Injustice, which may be one of the most important books written in a very long time.
Is the American criminal justice system unraveling? I came in as a law student thinking that our house of law was built on granite, right? That it was so solid. And as I began as a law student, as I went out and worked for a judge and was a lawyer and then became an academic and then started doing actually experimental collaborations with psychologists, suddenly I realized so much of what we've built our legal system on is sand. It's unsupported myths about human behavior. The fact that our backgrounds and experiences shape our view of seemingly objective facts has actually been documented in a whole range of different contexts.
And again, these aren't the things that are meant to determine outcomes in our criminal justice system.
Now, this is shocking.
I went to law school, like many of my students today, I think, with the notion that I was going to be helping people. I had a kind of an activist idea. I think I imagined myself standing up and fighting for the voiceless.
I tend to think that 5 justices on the Supreme Court believe that racial bias equates with racial animus. And I think the available psychology suggests that that's only half of the story, right? When we see these tragedies, as we just saw in South Carolina, that's part of what we're thinking about when we're talking about racism in this country. But there's a whole nother story out there that involves well-intentioned people who believe they are egalitarian, making decisions and acting in a way that creates terrible harm to members of the African American community. And that's in housing, that's in healthcare, and that's in criminal law.
We often like to think that we are marching up the mountain, constantly reaching for a higher plane. But unfortunately, when it comes to student rights, in many ways, the current generation is in a much worse position than their parents were.
Is there also kind of a bias against younger people?
So I think that younger people, people with mental health issues, people with low IQs are vulnerable in our criminal justice system from investigation through adjudication and to incarceration.
One of the things that's really shocking, we have a system to treat children like children. Because on a rational level, we say, well, children aren't the same as adults.
I'm not so certain that we will make progress if we continue to leave it to adults until children have real power in this world, a real voice, and that means voting rights, that means a right to hold office, that means a right to serve on a jury.
When we're looking for solutions, if we just go looking for people who have evil in their heart, we're never going to get to actually the heart of the problem.
We need evidence-based justice.
We have evidence-based medicine. And so I would say the starting point is to think about, well, what are best practices, and to have the courage to change things, to actually think about, well, this may be the best system that the world has ever seen, but it's not the system that we as Americans are promised, and we must always strive forward.
The root cause of nearly every major challenge we face, from crime to unemployment, can be found in our mistreatment of kids. And our next guest is working to change that. Here to share more, we welcome the author of A Minor Revolution, How Prioritizing Kids Benefits Us All.
This is not simply a moral imperative. This is an economic and social necessity. And that is because so many social problems are best treated, addressed in childhood.
As a society, it's not a zero-sum game. And the choice is simply whether to pay pennies on prevention and early intervention in childhood,
or dollars on trying to address ills that have metastasized and hardened over decades. Childhood is the window of opportunity. When we focus on kids, we make decisions for the long-term health of this country. Yeah. And I think when we ask this broader question of what is the law for, I think we can answer that question by saying to prioritize children. I think that is the best pathway forward as a nation.